when my dad wasn't coming to a game, I was like, okay, I can calm down a little bit.
Really? I can't relate to any of this. My dad was at every game because he was oftentimes the coach, and he didn't yell at me. You know, it was like
never.
Only if I wasn't paying attention. If I was in the outfield or something, like not paying attention, it's like, hey, wake up out there. You get one of those. But that's not mean. That's
Would he
supportive.
yell at you if you made a mistake on the field?
He never did. But I don't remember making a lot of like mental errors. That's something that I wouldn't do. When I failed, it was physical. You know, I wasn't fast enough, or with pitching, like there's just this wall you hit where like you just don't have it anymore, like accuracy wise. And it's like, at this point, this is on you. Either take me out or reap the benefit, or reap what you get.
I'm doing everything I can possibly do to throw it. Yeah.
So no, I don't remember him ever yelling at me, other than to pay attention, and or pay attention if I was on the bench too. Like you're not supposed to be horsing around when you're sitting on the bench. You're supposed to be paying attention to the game. Like we're here for this. We're here for this. If you want to like lollygag and like fucking blow bubblegum bubbles on each other back there like a bunch of pussies, like. We're not going to do that here today. Like that was clear. We're here to play baseball.
If I let a goal in,
that sounds familiar. Pay attention on the bench. Fuck you.
If I let a goal in that I knew I shouldn't look in, it gave me so much fucking anxiety because I knew he would be very displeased with that.
Well, I wouldn't want to disappoint him, but he would never like. You know, you fucked that one up. Like nothing close to that ever. And to be honest, maybe that's why I don't remember like making mistakes like that, is because he never was mean about that. Because I honestly don't have any memories of like big mistakes in baseball. I'm sure I made some. I remember hitting some kids, but that's just funny when you're a pitcher.
Dude, there are frames in my head I can see still if I close my eyes of me missing a puck with my left glove in a championship game, and it like I was so devastated, like I was so anxious, like oh my god, like I wish I saved that. I don't want anybody mad at me.
No, I can't. I've had more experiences like that, like those crushing mistakes that you were embarrassed about in video games than I have sports. Like
that goal, Taylor, I wouldn't have blamed on the goalie. Like, I'll blame the goalie if a really slow one gets in. You know, if a knuckleball, like whatever, dribbles in and the goalie. One thing that can happen in hockey if people don't play is it's rolling at them and they don't take it seriously enough. Like they try to stop it with just their stick, or maybe they don't get into proper position to really handle a last minute deflection or something like that. That I'll blame the goalie for. A freaking like wrister that goes in by your glove side, dude, you shouldn't have got that shot off. Like there's a team
same
in front
thing
of you.
Fielding in baseball. You know, you can get down in front of and square up and you can like get that thing, or you can kind of like jaunt over and like do this slick thing where you just kind of reach down and grab it and go through the motion smoothly. And one of them looks cool and the other one works 100% of the time.
Yes. Yeah. So unless the goalie's being lazy,
the goalie thing, like if you haven't played goalie in ice hockey, you may not realize like the puck is vulcanized rubber. It's unbelievably hard. And so when people hold it, they don't think like this is also bouncy. Like, and it's less bouncy once they freeze it, but it's still rubber. It's still bouncy. And so the like most terrifying shot as a goalie was when they would get it on net on like a bullshit dump in, and it would be on net, but it would be landing in like, you know, those balls, those bouncy balls that have like 4 different or 6 different like sticks on the every side, almost like a jack,
almost like
that
throwing
you could
a football.
throw. Yeah, you could throw it and it'll bounce anywhere.
Go.
Yeah, you don't know where it's going to bounce. And so like I remember explicitly right now, I'm remembering a goal I let in from almost like the blue line where they flipped it in, and I like thought I had myself in the right position, and it landed right in front of my stick and went like and like went right over me. And I remember like wanting to kill myself in that moment, being like, this is so humiliating because no one who just watched this realizes what happened. Like how I was trying to track the puck and I fucking missed it. Oh, that's so embarrassing. It is. Being a goalie fucking sucks. You can't leave. You can't leave. You're in there the whole game. Do you know how many games I stood there while opposing fan bases threw fries at me and chicken nuggets at me and shit? And like the refs have to come over and I would have to take my stick and push all the fries and chicken nuggets into the net so that it wasn't in the middle of the play. And like, you're just and then like,
Taylor, you fool! You should have made a defensive wall out of fries and chicken nuggets so that they can't score.
Rip the mask off and just started feasting.
No, make a little.
You're giving me power.
I would have
now I'm going to save all the bucks.
Tall barrier made of fries.
Oh no, Taylor's supersizing.
He's supersizing, and I'm just busting out of my pants, just filling the whole net. Yeah, that's my.
Where can I go to throw chicken nuggets at a kid playing hockey? That sounds great.
Literally any high school game. There was so much.
Yeah.
So the way hockey works in high school is it's as far as injuries go, it's the most dangerous sport. It's much less popular than football, and so it doesn't get the same hate. But schools do not insure their hockey programs. All hockey programs are like a third party thing because they don't want to deal with it. And so you would do that, and that's how it would go. There's not much else to explain. That's how they would do it. Is they didn't want to deal with people getting hurt, and so they just threw people on there. But yeah, all the hockey games I would go to, like one of my very close friends now, he's a year younger than me in high school. And in high school, I did not know him at all. His name is Mike. Did not know him. The way I met him is that he came to every single hockey game, even the games that were like at midnight because hockey times are ridiculous. And he would be there, and sometimes he'd be the only student there, and he would get blackout drunk. And the first time I saw him, I saw him around school in the hallways, and he started walking around, like there was no one at the game, and he started walking around the rink towards where I am. And I'm like, what's this fucker doing? Like, is he gonna try and distract me and bang on the glass? And he was walking like he was already fucking blackout drunk. And he gets behind me and he starts banging on the glass. And like hockey players, you don't respond to banging on the glass ever. But I heard him yelling Taylor! Taylor! And I was looking around just trying to see. He's like, I love you. you made so many good saves. He was, and multiple games I would notice him coming around and he would just be drunk, giving me encouragement, being like, I know we're losing, but it's not your fault. You're doing good. I'm so proud of you. And just doing shit like that. And we became friends later. I'd be like, you're the guy who comes to all the fucking games and your name's Mike. And he's like, yeah, I love getting blackout drunk, going to the hockey games. It's so much fun. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes you don't even bring people with you. He's like, yeah, it's a solo occasion sometimes. But yeah, shout out to Mike, one of my close friends. Got to meet him that way. Yeah, I remember one of the younger brother of one of my teammates. It was Dan, the guy who was always drunk and high when he would play, but he was at a skill level. So Dan and I were the best players on the team, and we played on a different team that traveled together also. And so it was just a coincidence we happened to be on this team as well. And so Dan would get just blackout drunk sometimes before he played, and he'd still be tremendous. But he gave his younger brother once a whistle to sit in the stands with. And he told his younger brother, he goes, if they ever have a breakaway, blow the whistle. And because a breakaway means that they would have a player coming towards me, the goalie, with no one around. So it'd be 1-on-1, a very bad situation for the goalie. And so he gave this whistle to his brother. And I swear to God, he got 3 breakaways blown down before they went up into the stands and found the kid with the whistle and removed him. But literally, we ended up winning the game, and it was 1,000,000% because of him blowing the whistle in the stands. Because
you're not allowed to do that?
No, because a whistle means the end of play. And so they would be skating towards me, and they would cross the blue line, and I'd be skating out, and it'd just be me and him. And then there'd be a, from over there, whoop, and then the guy carrying the puck would be like, oh, and he'd push it away, and then the refs would be like, plays live. But by that point, all my defensemen are back and everything's good. And he got away with it a couple times before they were like, find who has that whistle.
It's like bringing a air horn to a basketball game.
Yeah, I guess that would be the same, because that's what they use there for. Or no, don't they use whistles for plays?
In high school basketball.
Oh, I don't know anything about high school basketball.
I remember they used an air horn for something, because I remember they were beeping one during the game. It caused a whole problem.
We would wear little umpire uniforms. The first baseman would like pull his shirt off and run over and go, "You're out!" And then he would get off and we'd tag him. We're like, joke's on you. Just first baseman.
I'm just the first baseman. Well, I'm just an umpire with a glove standing here with a ball in it.
On his back. He would have it on his back.
Oh, okay.
You're out.
Yeah, baseball was the shittiest sport to have to play as a child because it was literally only batting. It was just the waiting game until it was your turn to bat, and then that was it. Because no one's hitting dingers into the outfield in Little League for the most part. They're just not.
It's just like a screw up sport. Like, see how many screw ups you can not make. And as a kid, you just make a lot. Like, I'm seemingly easy catch. Like, whoops, well, fuck that up. Oh, here's an easy throw I've done a million times. Whoop, fuck that up.
Watching T-ball is one of the most excruciating things. I saw this really cute clip on Reddit the other day where the kid like hits the ball and then he starts crying because he ran the wrong way, and the coach just runs over and picks him up and starts running with him to first base, and he's kicking his little legs like he's running, and then he like sits him down and he's safe because the play was so bungled it didn't matter that he had went with the run. It didn't fucking matter.
No one's keeping score. Who gives a fuck? Dude, Kyle, you talking about having that backup through the yard catastrophe reminded me. I bet probably like 7 years ago I told this on the show.
By the way, I didn't say a word.
You didn't say a word. You were a good man. You were honorable.
Are they still together? I'm curious. Did White Boy?
I believe they are. I certainly hope they are.
Good for them. Good for them.
She was always really nice.
Basically, I think I was probably like 13, 14 or so. And we were coming from the rink. My mom was driving me. And it was me and I think my younger brother and Joel Quinville's son, who played on a team with my brother. Joel Quinville at the time was the head coach of the St. Louis Blues. And so big like guy in the hockey community in St. Louis, very like tight. And so like the professionals like Chris Pronger and Al McInnes and Joel Quinville and all these guys would be down at the rink and their kids would be playing there. And so like we knew them and the Kachucks, and my mom was dropping in this Honda Odyssey. I remember we were dropping him off at Joel Quinville's house, head coach of the Blues, after a practice, and it was rainy. It was shitty out. It was wet, and he was the coach of a professional hockey team, and so it was a very, very, very nice yard, very nice house, beautiful yard, and a very long, straight driveway. And my mom pulls up into it and lets him out, and he goes in. He's like, "See you later," like, "Oh, see you next time," and she starts backing out. And I remember like his driveway was big enough. She could have done a little whoop de doop and like come back out straight, but she started backing up, and 100-yard driveway, however long it was. And I think we got it about 8 feet backward before I felt the car go and just in the yard. And my mom just forging ahead, just driving 2 wheels like tilted in this guy's yard. And I'm like, Mom, you're in Joel Quinville's yard. You're in the coach of the Blues yard. Get back on the driveway. And she's like, "It's fine, Taylor. It's fine." And I'm like, "It's not fine. It's not fine." So
it's not fine.
It's not fine. And so like all the way back, the full length of the driveway, there is just a solid rut, a ditch now of destroyed like yard right next to the driveway. And my mom, like, it just didn't register with her at all how like shitty it was. And so I'm just like, I'm mortified. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to talk to someone else during practice and like deal with this. This is really embarrassing. This guy's a big hullabaloo in the hockey world. And then she just backed out. I looked in horror at like a decimated yard, and then she just drove away. And then I got back, and my dad was there, and like I waited, and my mom went to go do something else, and I was like, "Dad, Mom drove through Joel Quinville's yard," and he was like, "What?" Like he was like, "What?" And I'm like, "She started backing up, and then she was just in the yard, and then she just went all the way through the yard." And he was like, "Oh my God!" Like I saw that look.
I choose
of like
to believe that's what led to the divorce.
I would have went back.
I think it was. like timing doesn't work out, but yeah, my dad was I could see in his eyes and face because he would golf with like Al McInnes and Joel Quinville and like these guys, and he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, do they know it was you who dropped him off? Like, yes, they know. He's like, "Oh my God."
They probably were all like watching through the blinds as you did it. Like Oh no, she'll stop. She'll. Oh God.
Blasted.
Honey, isn't that the Kentucky bluegrass you had flown in?
Oh,
maybe
my mom was driving like Hamas was hidden under the yard, just blasting through it.
So your father was friends with Quinville and McGinnis and Pryor?
Yeah, like because they we played hockey at the same club, and so like a lot of these guys played golf together. And like what helped is that my dad is a ridiculously good golfer, like absurdly good. People will be like, "Oh, I'm really good at golf," and then they play with my dad, and he blows them out. He plays nonstop all the time. And so these guys, like when people retire from hockey, they start playing golf, and so they wanted someone good to play with them, and so they would invite him to come play, and that was neat. So I got to like hang around the Blues.
Why is it fun to have somebody good with you?
When they're playing like triples or like a group of 4 or something, it's good to have someone who's really solid on there, I guess. I don't even know enough. Like like in group play where like they're a group competing against other groups. I guess it was good to have them. I remember Matthew and Brady Tkachuk are both in the NHL right now, the sons of Keith Tkachuk. And I remember I met Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. They're both like 7 and 9 years younger than me or something like that. 7 and 8 years younger than me. And the Tkachuks invited us to their box to watch a Blues game when I was probably, 12. And so these kids were like 3, 4. And I remember my dad like giving me a talk like the whole way up there. He was like, "You behave. We are with Blues players and we're going to their box and you will behave." And I remember being like, I do behave. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be in trouble for, but like I was on my best behavior. And like every so often I would just like, cause all the adults were talking behind me and I was sitting in those little chairs up a little closer to that mini glass that overlooks the ice. And then I would like get up every so often and go get a Coke because I wanted a soda. And like, that was my big, oh my God, it's a box, as many hot dogs and sodas as I please. And so I was doing that the whole time. And I had to end up getting multiple sodas because I would go get a Coke, I would open it and then like drink some, put it next to me. And then it was either Matthew or Brady Tkachuk, probably Matthew at the time, who was like 4 years old. He came over and he just kept knocking my soda over. Like this little kid, he just kept going, whap. And I remember in my head being like, "That's Keith Tkachuk's kid, and Dad said to behave." And so I just would like,
"You're like, good hit, little
guy." Good hit, little guy. And so I just pick up the soda and throw that one away, and then open up another one. And then he'd come over like 10 minutes later and knock my soda over again.
Oh, got another one. 2 points for you.
Matthew. Little did I know he'd be an NHL.
Hey, I'm Taylor,
superstar.
by the way. We should be friends for life.
We should be great friends. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I have a bunch of good like hockey stories knowing those guys. Eric Johnson was the first overall pick by the St. Louis Blues in 2006, I want to say. So I was 15, he was 18, and he was boarding with the McKinnises at Al McKinnis's house, and which is pretty common if you're like a young 18-year-old first-round draft pick, first overall especially, that you're going to go to the NHL right away, more likely than not. And so they'll board you with an existing NHL family with people on there so that you can kind of get acclimated. And I knew Al McKinnis's son at the time, and so he and I were playing shinny hockey in Al McKinnis's basement, which is like a little where those little tiny hockey necks, like yay big, made of plastic, and then those little plastic sticks with the foam ball. And basically you're on your shins, you're on your knees, and it's 1-on-1, and you're trying to play hockey versus it's so much fun. Shinny is great. And me and Al's son were playing, and because I'm a goalie, it gives me a tremendous advantage in this game because second nature, I'm always keeping myself square to the net. Whereas someone who plays forward or defense isn't going to be doing that as much. They're going to leave open scoring opportunities. And so I beat Al McKinnis' son. And then I look over and Eric Johnson, first overall draft pick, comes down in the basement. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" At this time, Al McKinnis' son is like 1 year younger than me. I'm 3 years younger than Eric Johnson. And he's like, "I want to play." And he's like an 18-year-old first round draft pick in the NHL. And so he's unbelievably competitive, unbelievably competitive. And I won. I beat Eric Johnson. Shout out you, Eric Johnson has a good career.
Loser.
Eric Johnson, loser. You're lucky we're giving you this attention.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Eric. And so we were playing, and like at first it started off where he wasn't going that hard on me, And then he realized like, oh, this kid's like, and I'm also like a pretty big 15-year-old. And so by the end of the game, he and I are both sweaty. And he's like, when I have possession of the puck, he's like leaning on me like hard, trying to move me. And I'm like trying to bounce it off the wall to get it into the net. And I won. And he got like he kind of got up like with a little bit of a huff. Fuck. Like mad about it. And I remember for a long time, I'm 32 now. And I still remember that and being like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
The king of
Zero if you wanted.
Yeah, I could have. And by that, doing a little college football math, I should have been the first overall draft pick in the NHL.
I mean, I bet if some of those scouts had seen that Shinny footage, they may have had some other ideas.
They would have. I kicked ass at Shinny. So Eric Johnson, invite open. You want a rematch anytime, any place. Oh, I've made $100 million and won Stanley Cups. Who cares, brother? I took you down in Al McInnes' basement in 2005. Basement champion. Yeah. Did you guys know any like professional athletes growing up or like?
No.
My father knew Pat Croce.
I forget where you're from.
You guys know any celebrities or anything as a child? You know, hang out with them and stuff, befriend them? No,
it's just because we played hockey in the same circles.
Yeah,
that reminded me so much of. We were maybe 11 years old, and I guess 11 or 12, and that's the age where they allow hitting to start being a thing in ice hockey. Before that, they don't allow it because, especially on ice, even a little kid can get a huge amount of speed and fuck somebody up. And by that point, I was a goalie, and so hitting was not part of my repertoire. And so I remember, though, one of the first practices where the head coach was like, all right, Taylor, you go in that net with the goalie coach. We're doing a hitting drill. And like part of me, I was like, oh, I knew this day would come. And I do feel lonely down here by myself, like with just me and the other goalie. And I watched as he lined up this big ex-hockey playing like coach, just had them skate as hard as they could, like behind the net. And he was there waiting for them. And he just knocked the shit out of them. Like put them on their ass.
He was the brick wall.
Yeah, he was a brick wall just to get them used to what it would feel like to run into something with no give. You know, it's not like a wall. He was putting them down in a way that wasn't going to hurt them. But I remember watching that and so quickly being like, I did make the right decision in being a goalie.
Oh yeah, you want to be in goal where it's safe.
It never occurred to me that you'd practice like checking or hitting in hockey for some reason. I never played that or any contact sport for that matter, really. I played a little baseball, but you know, there's none of that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
It's weird to me because
how to hit. It was obvious
because you've got parents in baseball, right? Like I think the closest thing that ever came to a parent hurting a kid is the kid doesn't catch the ball and eats it. I've seen that happen. But in hockey, a parent has to hit a kid. It sounds like for the lesson to be given. So that's kind of weird because I mean, an average parent might be very judgmental about how many newtons of force are being applied to their son in this training. That was 2 newtons too much, you cocksucker. But then like a crazed person is just going to want to fight, right? Especially a hockey dad. Oh, you like hitting kids, do ya? Let me show you how they do it over in
hoser. Yeah,
how to do it in the Michelob leagues.
The Michelob leagues. Yeah, it is. I was jealous I couldn't hit, but it was also kind of nice. Like that was the best part about being goalie was also the worst part. Like you are in such control of the game. Like it felt great and also felt shitty because sometimes it was like this was my fault.
You're like everybody's little brother as a goalie. Like, oh, did you hit our goalie? Did you get like? So if you stop in hockey, it shoots little ice like snow, right? And if you so much as snow the goalie, everyone tries to beat you up. And it's like, what? How big a pussy is your goalie that he can't get ice on him? But
it is annoying, man. It's cold and it gets in your eyes. Yeah. I don't like it.
The disrespect alone.
Then sometimes they stick when you're covering the puck and they stick their stick under your thigh in the meaty area and they rake back and forth with like trying to give you splinters. That shit hurts. Yeah, they're mean spirited.
When Taylor first told me that about the fiberglass splinters in your thighs,
oh god,
that's when I felt the same way I felt when I heard about the varsity football or baseball trip where they raped the kid with the Coke bottle. I was well, I won't be playing high school ball then, eh? I was like,
I certainly won't.
Like you can only take so much hazing. I was like, I thought there'd be jock straps and running. And they're like, nah, dude, they put a Coke bottle up Chad's ass.
That kind of hazing is so upsetting. It's like, how are you better friends afterward because of that? Where it's like,
it wasn't a modern Coke bottle.
Couldn't you have gone through something else a little? Couldn't you have? Maybe they drop you off in the middle of the woods 2 miles from somewhere and you have to wander back. I don't know, something not fucking putting in your ass.
No,
because then you have to be like,
rape him on the bus.
This is my
Taylor.
best friend. This is Jared. He's our all-star second line center. Used to be first line. Now he has issues. Like he's got a lot of psychological problems. This guy
could have been a great player.
a great player until he was
really had potential.
Abuse. Jesus.
There was
so you didn't. So Aqua, you didn't. You only played baseball growing up. No other football.
I tried to play soccer and all that. I couldn't like run for a very long time. It's not my thing. And basketball, I just never knew what the hell was going on. I just get hit in the head with the ball all the time. Soccer too, just hit in the face with the ball. I'm just not super aware of like what a ball flying around a court is doing. It's just not. It was never really my thing.
Yeah, you just didn't have an interest.
I can bat in baseball. That's all I'm good at. I can hit the ball with a stick. I'm good at golf too. That's about it. Okay. And skateboarding. I got into skateboarding and that was my thing. No ball, no nothing.
How long?
Simple.
I guess when did you start skateboarding? As a young kid?
Yeah, like maybe like 6th or 7th grade, something like that. And that was like my thing. Like, I actually did a little skateboarding today for the first time in quite a while, and I suck. It was horrible. I was super out of breath and like could barely jump and scared, frankly. I just don't want to hurt myself anymore. It's just not worth it.
Were you at the point that you could do like tricks?
Yeah. I could do
McTwists.
No McTwists. I didn't do like the half pipe thing or anything. But like
stale fish. I'm trying to remember things from Tony Hawk 1998.
These are like more snowboard tricks. Yeah, no, I could like kickflip and like do that off of stuff, like down some stairs, like stuff like that. Nothing crazy, just a few.
I grew up in the country, so there was no concrete to do those kinds of sports on. So my sports all ended at if you couldn't do them in dirt, then I really couldn't do any of them. I remember I got a bicycle for Christmas one year, and I was like, but what the fuck do I do with it now? Like, because it's like we live at the end of a dirt road. We live on a dirt road with a dirt driveway and a dirt yard. Like where do I go? This isn't a mountainous area. Well, what, there's like trails? No, there's not trails.
It wasn't a mountain bike. It was a track bike.
Dirt bike.
I mean, it was a mountain bike, but like what, my little ass is gonna pedal it through the cow pasture when there's ATVs and shit. There was no purpose for it. I just sat there and rusted away.
Yeah, that's literally just for exercise, and you're a kid. You don't need it. You
got a basketball hoop and a basketball, and it was like, they didn't pour me a concrete pad, so I'm just out there in the dirt again, just like poor Michael Jordan from the beginning of Space Jam, like that. But the version that didn't try. Yeah. That's how I see myself.
As the Michael Jackson from the beginning of Space Jam who doesn't try.
Yeah, same exact thing, yeah.
If only you had like Michael Jordan's dad, who just like pushed him along. You could have been Michael Jordan.
I believe
Michael
that
Jordan's
with all
dad,
my
Michael
heart.
Jackson's dad.
I believe that with
great
all my
dads.
Heart. Yeah. I believe it.
They're known for their great dadding.
Yeah. They're known for not taking no for an answer from their kids. I want a normal childhood. I don't want this surgery. Shut up, Michael. Dance.
Today I was watching that hockey show that you guys recommended to me and fucking loving that shit.
What's it called?
It's called Untold Crime and Penalties.
This is the story of an actual mob boss.
Oh, I know this. Yeah.
Okay. He bought his 17-year-old son a minor league hockey team. And you might think, oh, so the kid owns a hockey team, but what does that even mean? No, he's like the general manager and the president. So he picks the players, he runs the fucking show. And he picked he's 17 and he likes WWE. At his birthday party when he was 12 or 13, The Rock was there.
He was. There's footage of it.
Yeah. Did you see they had a WWE night at one point during their season and John Cena showed up to hold his belt?
John Cena showed up. This is a show where they split time between the mob and the FBI, and then intermixed is John Cena, Triple H, The Rock, Wayne Gretzky's under
Brent Gretzky,
little brother, and like all these other people palling around with the mob, and it's just like okay. I'd love to hear The Rock tell this story. Like I'd love to hear his end.
You're liking it a lot so far, right?
I'm digging it quite a bit.
It's so funny.
I like how violent they are. I like how like just hard fucking core they are. I like how they pay them with like envelopes and bags of money.
And the players knew, right? The players are like, yeah, I got a check from the hockey team, and then another one from like a waste management company, and another one from help me out, Taylor. What were the other checks?
It was like a cleaning service, waste management, like a bunch of like bullshit, like. And it was like not just the players on these payrolls, their wives were getting checks for it. They're like, if they had an adult child, they also worked there. It was just money laundering through a minor league team. And like to the fighting point, I've never seen so much blood on the ice as the fights that they did.
Well, I mean, like to your point, like it was like opening game or like they're about to drop the puck for the first time of the year, and the fucking mob boss calls down and tells like one of their new players, as soon as they drop that fucking puck, you drop your glove, you take that guy the fuck out. And he's like, so what? Of course, you know, I was just looking for I was just looking for a motherfucker.
He had just given me a duffel bag of cash, and so I decided to do everything he says.
Yeah. So he just beats the shit out of some I guess somehow he got the guy to tell him to go fuck himself, and he's like, and then it was on. And they got a video of all this shit, and he beats the fuck out of this man in front of everybody. And then as he's like skating off the ice, he like points up to the mob boss, like, "Yeah, I got him for you, boss."
It's hilarious. And like even the GM / president, like the son of the guy, like so much of the documentary is just because he was walking around with a camcorder like the entire time. And like there was one guy on an opposing team who pulled a real dirty bullshit move that broke the leg of one of the Danford Trashers, and this other player came back in town, and like in what is like very uncouth, the guy's sitting at his bench like dreading playing this game because this guy's not an enforcer. He doesn't even want to be there. He's playing minor league for a real team, and the president, the GM, is taking a camera right to that crack between the glass, and he's going, "You got a real pretty face. It's gonna be a shame. It's gonna be a shame. Come on, give me a smile. Give me a smile with that pretty face. Come on." And that guy's sitting there horrified, knowing that the second he steps on the ice, the Nigerian Nightmare is gonna beat him to death.
The Nigerian Nightmare.
That guy's awesome. So funny.
Like the 17-year-old mob boss's son is like, "Yeah, so I got all these tapes from Talent, and I saw this one, and it said the Nigerian Nightmare, and that caught my attention. So I was like, I'm going to watch this one first." And then it cuts this guy. "I was the first Nigerian to ever play in the NHL. My parents didn't want to let me play. My mom tried to get me into figure skating. This was my calling." And then there's this one moment where like he's talking about like after they cheap shot the guy, and he's like, "So, you know, then I went in and I did what I did." And
it's great.
Like, I've never seen anybody beat up multiple opponents in a hockey.
Oh yeah, he like very. I didn't know it was an option to beat someone up and then skate to the next closest guy and beat them up. But like the Nigerian Nightmare as a human, clearly he clearly matured a lot throughout like the time since then, and so he's like almost like looking somber, like. Yeah. And then I just, you can watch the footage. I did what I did.
I did what I did. You know what? My actions speak for themselves. I'd rather not address it. You could just roll the tape. I know you're going to.
The fact that
you're the one who grabbed the coach by the fucking tie.
You talked about the camcorder thing, and that's great because the pretty face guy, he's coming back, and everyone knows he's going to have to face the music for hurting this player. I'll call it a few months earlier, and. Everybody knows, including the broadcasting crew. So as soon as the fight begins, it cuts off, it says technical difficulties, and it plays some elevator music. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, the broadcast crew cut it. So the only people that know what happened are the people that were there. And the people that saw my personal camcorder footage of the fight. And I'm like, oh, you gotta. And then comes on, just wrecking the guy. I'm like, you got the footage and you're showing it to me.
It's so like I don't know if you guys have ever been to a minor league hockey game. I went to a few ECHL games, which is a minor league below this one.
I went to AHL.
Yeah, I lived in Boise. Yeah, what's up?
I just want to say like this is a big deal. This hockey team, like it's NHL, and then this. This is like 4 steps below. I thought that's what it was when you initially described it. I thought this was like beer league type thing.
Yeah, some bullshit team.
This is like minor league hockey. It is an embarrassment to the game, to the commissioner of the league or whatever point. And he's like, I told him, if you embarrass me or the team or the league or hockey at all in general, I'm gonna come down on you. And it's like. And then, they just embarrassed me for like a year or 2 straight, and I didn't really do anything about it because,
Oh, one of the best or funniest parts is like
the equipment manager.
The equipment manager is the most
T-Bone,
the most mobbed up dude in the league. T-Bone's his name, and he genuinely would go into other teams' locker rooms.
Let me jump on you. Yeah. They go to the commissioner, and they're like, the equipment manager. Never in the history of the league or any league or the history of hockey have we had to suspend an equipment manager before. They fined and suspended the equipment manager because
he would go into opposing teams' locker rooms prior to the game starting, and he would steal the goalie equipment. And so then the goalie would be like, I don't know where my stuff is. It was here. And they'd be like, well, we have a loaner set of horrible pads that you can wear. And he did that multiple times. He's being interviewed about it. They're like, do you know anything about, goalies having their equipment stolen? He's like taking a puff on a cigar, like, that'd be really unprofessional, wouldn't it? That'd be wildly inappropriate.
So the other team has, 30 players on it. How many people are on a hockey team? 25 players?
Yeah, 24. So yeah.
And they gave them 6 paper thin towels for 24 players to share.
And then this is the most spiteful part.
And he's like, that sounds bad. We don't have endless towels.
That doesn't sound up to code, right?
That's got to be wrong. Somebody miscounted. Like those first 2 things, it's like, that might make it difficult to win a hockey game. Yeah. The last thing he did was just spite. He would turn off the hot water. This is the shower they're taking before they go home. The game is done. This is spite. It's like letting the air out of their tires in the parking lot. It has no effect on the goddamn game.
It's very uncouth to put threatening messages in visiting teams' walls and stuff. I think at one point, like, he or someone else wrote like "Welcome to Hell" as on like the banner of the opposing team's locker room. And what I liked is that they weren't just a bunch of bruisers. Like, the kid as a GM did a tremendous job. The team was winning. They were winning more games than they were losing.
It is important to note the salary cap affected every team but this guy.
Yes.
He had unlimited money to put together his all-star team. There was an NHL lockout. So they're like, we need a goal scorer. And I remembered, I really like this guy who scored the game-winning goal for the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
So we got him, and they just paid him with duffel bags of money.
Yeah, they did. It was a guy like it showed,
and he's there. That's what I love in documentaries and shit like this, because it's one thing to say, and then Donald Trump walked in. If they cut then, and Donald Trump is there on tape, you're like, oh shit, let's hear his.
So then I walked in.
Yeah, they do that with this. They're like, so, and they show this guy's fucking hockey card. It's like,
what's
this
the name of it again?
And then they show like ABC footage of the NHL finals and this guy winning the cup. And then they just cut to him sitting in a chair as part of this whole documentary. And he's like, they offered me so much goddamn money.
and then they show, like, the guy's name is Mike Rupp. He scored, I think, like the 2003 Stanley Cup winning goal for the Devils. And the guy was like, I liked Mike Rupp. I remember being a Devils fan. And so I thought, let's sign Mike Rupp. And a guy who's career NHLer, and they signed this guy, and he's a center. In his NHL career, he only had 99 points in 610 games. That's a 4th line guy not that impressive, a grinder probably. Then it shows highlights of a true blue NHLer in this league, and he's dangling like he looks like a fucking all-star, and it's so unfair to like the fucking Manchester Monarchs or whatever the fuck other team where they're like, we couldn't afford to give Mike Rupp duffel bags of cash, and he's scoring 3 on us in a game.
If I were a viewer, I'd want the name of the show in the scroll. What was it again?
It is Untold Crime and Penalties. The name of the series is Untold.
If you go on Netflix and you literally just search hockey, it's the first result.
It's a really entertaining. It's like an hour and a half.
I'm not done with it. Yeah, I'm not done with it. I think like one of the last things that I saw was the part where they have broken the man's leg and found out where the player lives and where his family works and shit. And they have asked the man whose leg is broken, like, hey, how do you want us to handle this? Like, they're asking if they want them to like go after this player in the real world and get him and hurt him somehow. It's crazy.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, we didn't tell this. They're like, hey, we got his home address. You need anything done? You tell us how you want to handle this. And it's just like, whoa, wait. I understand this code.
Yeah.
He's offering to murder another player.
Yeah. And then it goes to the guy, and he says to the camera, and like whatever the bad guy's name is who had injured him, he's like, "You better be glad I kept it on the ice, you bitch." It's just like, yeah, you better, because like Tony Soprano was sending some boys to your house to fucking knock you off. That's the other thing. This guy's this is
literally Tony Soprano.
Oh
yeah.
And then I've told Kyle this, but for the audience, the ending, which I won't spoil, I'll only say they do a real nice job of sort of putting a button on it. There's a period at the end of this sentence. You find out how this happens. I'll even do this. They do a like a current sort of get the gang together and talk sort of party.
Yeah, I recommend it. I think we all do. Real good show. You don't need to like hockey at all to enjoy it, because I don't. But I really like this. I like the mob, and I like ridiculous fucking stories. Like this was a bit of a national news story as far as sports stories go, because someone gave a 17-year-old a fucking minor league sports team. It was insane.
I want credit. If you guys like this, viewers, this one was Woody's find.
It was. I would never have found this if not for you, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of the best long things I've seen.
No, just like Woody had history rewritten on Taylor earlier. This is a Kyle find.
No, let's give this one to
Okay, but I get credit. If you like Succession, Woody.
You get credit for Succession.
For Succession, I wrote it down. I'm interested.
I'm pretty sure Zach told us about Succession.
On Plex.
Zach didn't tell you shit.
That's a Zach show.
That is a Zach show.
The GM president, like 17-year-old kid. Like, he seems like a bit of a shithead through a lot of it because he's 17. The Spittin' Chicklets, my favorite podcast, it's a hockey show with a couple of ex-NHLers and another guy. They had this guy on a few days ago, and I listened to the whole episode, and he's like genuinely the most humble, kindest guy now, where they're like, were there any concerns about you like looking like an asshole for being a kid? He's like, I was a kid. Kids do all sorts of silly things. I watch it too and cringe a little bit, but it was a great time in my life. I had a wonderful time doing it. I wish it lasted long. And it's like, you can't dislike this guy at all. And he kept like referring to stories. They're like, what about like all the money under the table? He's like, a lot of things were alleged. They alleged that we bought houses for all of them on a communal property that was intentionally made to keep people from being requisitioned by authorities. Who's to say? Like, I winged this girl with a hockey puck when I was like 8-9 years old in grade school gym. Actually, winged is the wrong word. I caught her square in the teeth with one of those orange pucks because she was in a gym floor hockey. And me and one of my buddies who I played hockey with, actually the Marine guy I've talked about many times, one of my very close friends, we were both on the same team in our gym, hockey squad. And this girl, Ashley, sorry, Ashley. Well, I guess it's not that big of a sorry. She got to go home afterward. But everyone was keeping the puck on the ground. And so the goalies were having a very easy time. They were just like laying the stick on the ground. And I'm like, not today. I can lift this easy peasy, because obviously before, those plastic hockey sticks with like the straight blades, I did what everybody does beforehand, where I put my foot on it on the ground and you kind of crank it up and you bend that. You add a big old wicked curve in it so that you can get some speed on the puck. And I ripped it as hard as my little 8-year-old arms could. And it immediately became apparent to me that I put too much curve in my stick, because it was 5 feet high, maybe 6 feet from my stick. It would have missed very high. I probably would have hit the backboard, because that's what the goal was under. And it caught her right in the mouth. She didn't make a single move. She only had one hand on her stick, wasn't even fucking paying attention. And so she was openly weeping. Then my teacher got mad at me as if it's like my fault. I'm playing to win. I'm heart of a champion. I'm trying to pad my stat line. I already had a couple of assists trying to get a goal for the day. And no, then she had to go home, and he made a new rule that you couldn't bend the sticks and that you couldn't take the puck off of the ground anymore. Which is like, well, now we're not even playing hockey.
Serious question. Unless things have changed, in the NHL, there are rules about how much bend you can put on the stick. Now, I've always felt like the more bend you put on the stick, it's a little more helpful for when you're on your forehand, and it's a little hurtful when you're on your backhand because it's bent the wrong way. So I sort of thought the bend would kind of self-regulate mostly, and people would put on an appropriate amount of bend so that they could handle it well, both forehand and backhand. Why
the
are there
curve
rules?
of the blade, you mean?
Yeah. Am I saying it wrong?
I thought you were talking about stick flex for a second, but okay. Curve of the blade.
Curve of the blade, I'm sorry. Why, at the NHL, at the top, where you're not worried about people roofing it, is there a rule on how much you can bend your blade or curve your blade? It doesn't make any sense.
There are some rules, like they have to be within a certain dimension size. So, Zach, pull up Ryan O'Reilly's hockey stick. Him and Leon Draisaitl are two guys who like push it to the absolute limit with how big and goofy they can make the shape of their stick. But it all comes down to what you're doing the most. So if you're always taking wrist shots, you might have a little more curve, or at least what's allowable, like to the maximum. If you're taking slap shots often, or you're a face-off guy, then you're going to have a different thing. So Ryan O'Reilly's stick, which Zach will bring up in a second, has the most goofy, absurd toe curve in the NHL, and that's because he's the best face-off guy that the NHL has had in many, many years. And so having that extra little hook there...
Oh, shit, it's flat except the tip.
The rule is that the length of the overall blade, like from where the stick comes out, can't be like more than an inch or a couple inches or something like that. And so he chose to have the whole blade be pretty much stick straight until the end, and all the curve is at the end. And that means that when he's doing face-offs, he can kind of curl that around, and nobody else's stick is like that, because everyone else is like, this is retarded. It affects my shooting. It affects my stick handling. It affects everything. But he's used to it. And so he's still the best face-off guy because he has a goofy-ass stick. They do have rules for like how big a stick can be, that occasionally they have to make allowances. Like Zdeno Chara, who's like 6'9", 6'10". None of the regular size sticks fit for him.
He?
Oh, he's out of the league. He's like in his mid 40s now. One of the Blues players, Colton Parayko, he's like 6'6" or 6'7". He's a defenseman, and so he's allowed to have the bigger sticks. And I saw in a game once, like, these refs were on the ball because technically it is legal for Colton Parayko to use that stick, but it is not legal for any other player on the ice to use that stick because it's an illegal stick for them. And so the rule is, like, Kyle probably doesn't know this, if a defenseman loses their stick, a forward gives him their stick because it's more important that defensemen have a stick than a forward. If
sometimes
the goalie,
they point the wrong way too.
Yeah,
like they'll give him a lefty stick. It's all backwards.
But you like need poke checking and that defensive tool. If a goalie loses his stick and there's no one around to help and the stick's knocked into the corner or whatever, defenseman, give the goalie the stick. It's very important the goalie has that there. And so at one point, a player's stick broke and he went to pick up Colton Parayko's off the ground and start using it in the play. And immediately the ref was like, illegal stick maneuver. You can't play with that. You can't do that. And it's like, that's what you missed. Someone's getting their teeth pummeled in 3 feet from you, but you caught the illegal stick. Yeah,
that is cool. I still don't know why they would put a rule about the curve of the stick. I
guess because it would be so easy for wrist shot guys to abuse that. I don't actually know. A goalie, I'm not sure.
Could the stick break from doing that?
Sticks break all the time.
That's probably why. It's probably making the thing like too weak, right?
You can't play if your stick is broken.
When a stick breaks?
It's very dangerous because they're carbon fiber, and so you can stab someone with it very accidentally or easily. Scratchy. So like if your stick starts to break at all, you have to drop it. Like you can't do anything with a broken stick. I did. I don't know how flexible you guys have ever gotten in your life, but I was a goalie in ice hockey for many, many years growing up, and I got pretty competitive with it on some solid teams. And like I was the only, other than some other goalies, like I was the only person like on the team that could like do the splits, which is something most men can never do. And like doing the splits when you're playing ice hockey is not like doing it like watch me kind of maneuver down in a way. It's like, no, you're slamming down into it. And then you're like very rapidly getting back up and slamming back into him if you need to. And I was, man, that would be so sick if I was still that flexible. I might tear something trying to touch my toes right now.
That's the other good thing about the TRT, by the way. I'm not trying to sell TRT. I mean, use Derek's clinic at Merrick Help. But like your tendons and everything get stronger. Like all the connective tissues, like fucking they get angry about life and they want to hurt something, so they get thicker too. Like you recover so fast. It's a wonderful thing. I can't wait.
Oh no. So if you ask me if I could go out and find 1,000 people and say, can you, with no resistance, fall to the ice and hit your balls on the ground without dying the next moment, like what amount of performance enhancing products would it require and what time frame? I mean, that's insane. Like
it just took a huge amount of stretching like regularly and just doing it over and over and over. Like
your brother's doing this with you? Like, I feel like are you doing this alone in a cold basement?
You developed this flexibility when you were like 11 or something, and then just kept it.
Yeah. Right like there. I started playing goalie when I played hockey since I was like 5, and then it was like roller hockey when I was 5, and then switched over to ice hockey when I was maybe 6 or 7, and then at 8 I switched to goalie and just got very, very flexible. And just Roy's right. I just like played through it, didn't lose it. I couldn't do fucking whatever that guy's doing.
That's Taylor there.
but that doesn't look like a useful way to stop a puck. He's not big enough.
This looks like one of those Chinese industrial accidents I've been watching. I saw this Chinese industrial accident.
Part of him is what? That's his nuts, right? And the little bulge.
There it is.
Oh, nuts.
Yeah. Wow. This guy doesn't have to
make. This guy got an OnlyFans?
All right, so you were like beyond 0.1% of flexibility at a moment in life.
At a moment in life, I was incredibly like I would do like
we could be the professor.
I would like my dad like sometimes would get on to me and be like, "Hey, you're just watching TV. You could be like, stretching while you're watching TV. Like get more flexible with it." And so I'd like sometimes get like I'd be in front of the TV and like trying to stretch out and like get more flexible, more limber because it obviously makes sense if you've ever watched goalies in the NHL. Like those guys are flexible as shit. Like being able to do that is very useful.
Were you ever in a situation where like something was about to hit you in the face and so you just did the splits like Spider-Man and avoided it?
No, no, I never, never did that.
I'd use that maybe in a fight. Like,
but if you avoided a major injury, have you avoided future injuries because of that flexibility?
Like when I was playing hockey, if I would have tried some of that shit and I wasn't that flexible and I was like a normal level of flexible, I would have torn my groin.
So I had this recognition in like late high school and college sports of like, if I was more flexible, I would get hurt less.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that recognition that I am hurt less by things because of this period in life where I was the most flexible of any human being alive?
Yeah. Like I was definitely like, even now, like I'm joking, I couldn't touch my toes. Like in the world of adult men who do no flexibility training whatsoever, I'm
there you go,
like, much more flexible than the average person.
Remember we talked about defining a very small niche and being at the top of that?
Yep.
Here we are.
Yep. Being able to do the splits to save a puck.
Right.
And then like it was fun when I'd like because I played on like a real team that was more competitive throughout all those years, and also would play on like a high school team that was like fucking who gives a shit camp. Like the level of like even the shots are so much slower. Like and like when people would come to the game and see, and I'd like get the chance to like bust out some splits for like a fancy save, and hearing like the impressed like the stands, it was like, yeah, I'm pretty dope. That feels pretty good. I like
Woody's
that.
got another one. Woody's got a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's got 2 years of boxing training in like a real gym. And I don't know, he went and did like an actual alpha man camp and lived with a UFC fighter for a week or so. So like I wouldn't want to tangle with Woody if I was the average Joe, you know what I mean? Like I think he'd scoop you up.
A little bit like being better at guitar compared to people who don't play guitar. You know,
but it turns out here in traffic today, we're having a guitar playing contest, motherfucker.
You're right.
You got your pick. If you're ever in a traffic incident and dude puts a mouth guard in, fucking back down. Somebody pulls a mouth guard out and squares up, just apologize.
Right.